Today we're going to talk about the Tamron 28-75 and why I think this is the best all-around lens for your E-mount system. So let's do this. What's up, YouTube? The day is finally here. We are talking about the Tamron 28-75. But before I get into today's video, I did want to give a small reminder that the small rig multi-tool giveaway is still going on. You still have a chance to qualify. All you need to do is go watch the video where we celebrated the channel reaching 500 subscribers, and I'll link that up here in the corner. But you need to go watch that video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and in that video, comment your Twitter or Instagram handle, and you'll enter to win the small rig multi-tool giveaway. So let's do it, right? Everyone just go crazy. This is a great gift. This is my gift to you for the holidays. So Merry Christmas. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. I have been holding on to the subject because I wanted to give enough time with this lens to really be able to talk about it. Well, over the weekend, I actually posted an engagement video where one of my buddies got engaged and he gave me the honors of filming the entire event. And first and foremost, I just want to say congratulations to Ben and Courtney. You guys mean so much to me, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of that experience. And so thank you very much. Mwah. But I posted that video, one, because they were building a wedding website and needed that video for their website, but also for the fact that I wanted to use that video to showcase this Tamron 28-75, because 90% of that video was shot on the Tamron 28-75 and handheld. So it is a great video to showcase the ability of this lens. I'm going to give you my thoughts, my pros and cons of this lens, and really who I think this is good for, who I think should buy it, which is everyone and everyone. Easy enough, right? We're gonna start with the pros, as always. I like to be positive. Not enough positivity in this world. All right, so my first pro is how much this lens is an utter workhorse. I take this lens everywhere. I am a huge fan of prime lenses. I have some Sony primes that I want to review. I have my Rokinon 24mm that I want to review, and those are all primes. And if you're not familiar with primes versus zooms, primes are a set focal length, and all that means is like 24mm, 50mm, 85mm. Those are only focal lengths that those lenses will have because that's what they are. Whereas zooms, you have multiple focal lengths. So this one goes from a 28mm to a 75mm. So a little bit more of a wide angle all the way up to a little bit more of a smaller telephoto. Because of that, because of its versatility, I literally take this everywhere. If I don't know what I'm filming or photographing that day, this is a lens that's coming with me because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get the shot because of that focal range. If you guys watched one of my videos about the Sony 18-105, that was the same reason I love that lens. This is very similar to the 18-105 in the fact that it has a wide focal range, and so I can really use it in multiple scenarios. I can use it for tighter shots, I can use it for more wide angle shots, and so that's really helpful having a lens that can do all of those focal lengths. And that's a reason why if I'm going out and again, I don't know what I'm filming or photographing, it's staying on my camera because I know I can most likely get that shot with this lens because of that wide range of focal lengths. Pro number 2 is the fact that it is really good in low light scenarios. I remember the first day I had this camera and lens, I took it out to do some night photography, and I was just amazed on how well this 2.8 performed. And you may say, yeah, it's a 2.8. It can handle a little bit more of a low light scenario. Before I had an f4 lens, which is the 18-105, that's an f4, and I really didn't think that, one stop of light was going to be a huge difference, but it is. Having that 2.8 really handles low light scenarios well. And partner that with the full frame system and the ISO performance of the a7iii, like I am just blown away how well this does in low light. So that's another reason for me being really good in low light scenarios with that 2.8 aperture. Pro number 3 for me is the fact that it is a hybrid lens. So I can use this on video shoots. I can use this on photography shoots. I actually use this lens when I took my niece out for some kind of edgy style senior portraits. And so I took this out and was able, with those focal lengths, with that 2.8 aperture, do some night photography, but also turn around and have a really great video lens, as you see from that engagement video. So this lens performs really well as a video lens as well as a photography lens. Now you may say, well, every lens can do that. No, not necessarily. Not every photography lens is really good for video use, or vice versa, where like a cine lens may not be great for photography. And so that goes back to the fact that it's a workhorse because it's a really great lens for videography as well as photography. Now, I actually usually start with this last pro, and that last pro is the price. Right now, you can get one of these for $900 or less, potentially if you get it used. The fact that I can get this amazing picture, this amazing quality lens for $900, and it's full frame. Come on. I'm trying to buy more full frame lenses so that I can use them on my a7 III as well as my a6000. So the fact that this is $900, really great quality image, a lot of the features that I'm mentioning for $900 is amazing, amazing. So as you know, I try to focus on a lot of budget gear, and you may say $900, that's a lot of money, but for what you're getting, it's really not. Because if you look at the Sony branded equivalent, you're looking at potentially over $2,000 for that G Master lens, and that's really what people have been comparing it to. I would still confess that that G Master, quality-wise, is definitely going to be leaps and bounds better than this lens, but this really does compete with it as far as the focal lengths that you get, the aperture, and just the quality of the image that you get out of this lens does compete with the G Master from Sony. Obviously, there are other things that go into that quality, and that's things like the build quality and things like that, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So those are some of the pros, and obviously within all of that, one of the biggest pros is the picture that comes from this lens. It is just amazing. It is really a great image that you get from this lens. I have just been so impressed with what I can do with this lens. Again, I'm a huge fan of primes. The fact that I can get this good of an image out of a zoom lens just speaks for itself, not to mention all the other things I listed off as well. So those are some of the pros. You have the focal length, the versatility, it being a workhorse because of that versatility. You also have the aperture with the 2.8, and so because of that, you can do more low light shooting, low light filming. You have the fact that this is a really great video lens as well as a photography lens, and then also you have the price. And so with all of that, it is a great budget lens. Great budget lens. But what are some of the cons to this lens? And this is where I get a little bit honest, right? So I like to kind of give you guys my honest opinion about some of the cons. And I actually do have almost the same amount, if not more, cons to this lens than I do pros, but I think the pros outweigh the cons, even though there may be more. That works out, right? That's logical. Now, obviously this lens is not perfect, so what are some of the cons? First con for me is the fact that the zoom is external. That means that the barrel extends when you're zooming in and zooming out, and normally you may say that's not a huge deal, but as a videographer, as a filmmaker, if you throw this lens on a gimbal, it can throw off the balance when you are zooming in versus zooming out. So that's a con for me, is the fact that the zoom is not internal, it is external. Also, while we're talking about the zooming, the rings are backwards from most lenses. Usually when you have a zoom lens, the focus ring is the front ring and the zoom ring is the back ring. So if you're using a lot of manual lenses and you're used to kind of having that front ring for focusing, this may throw you off a little bit just from the fact of it's a little bit backwards. And on top of that, the focusing is done electronically. So I mentioned before that I think this is a great versatile lens for photography and videography. The only setback for me is the manual focus. I feel like it's not super consistent. I can't really gauge where the manual focus is. Now, the reason I did mention it's a great video and photography lens is the fact that the autofocus is great for video, but when you start doing manual focus, it can be kind of tricky. I'm used to more of like a cine style lens where the focusing is done without electronics. And so you have electronic focus, which is I'm just not a huge fan of. But that's one of the setback for me, is the focus ring is electronic, not manual. So one pro that I had was the fact that it had all those focal lengths. On the flip side of that, one of the cons is what focal lengths it has. The 28 to 75 can be kind of a weird range. It's not super wide like a 24 would be. The 28 is wide enough, but not so wide to where I don't feel like I shouldn't bring along my 24mm. And so that's one thing for me, is just that 28, I would love if it was a 24-70, but I think that may be why it's a little bit more of a budget lens, is because potentially that 24-70, whatever goes into making it might have driven up the price a little bit. I say that because if you notice with their wider lens, Tamron put out, I can't remember the focal lengths, but it's a wider zoom lens, and it's that same thing. It's a little bit more of an odd increment rather than the standard increments that we're used to with some Sony or Canon lenses. The 28 is, to me, just not wide enough, and so that's a con. The other con for me is the fact of the build quality. Now, it feels like a very sturdy lens, but it is primarily plastic. It can be a little bit on the cheap side as far as the structure. Like I said, it feels hefty, it feels good in the hand, but having that all plastic construction can feel a little bit cheap. Now, it does have a metal mount, so you don't have to necessarily worry about any kind of mounts breaking if you're slinging it around or things like that. So you have those pros, you have those cons. So all that to say, who would I recommend this for, and would I recommend for people to buy this? And as I kind of joked about before, yes and yes. I recommend it for anyone that is on a Sony E-mount system. Even if you're on a crop sensor camera like my a6000, I still potentially would recommend this, because as you grow and develop in your photography, videography skills, and you go into more of like a full frame system, you'll already have a lens ready to go for it. And so I still would even recommend this for crop sensor people. Now, it may be a little bit more expensive than some of the crop sensor lenses you may have in the market right now. But again, glass is something you invest in. You cannot go wrong in getting good lenses, good glass. And so if I were to invest in something as you're starting out, invest in good glass. And so even with somebody that is on a crop sensor APS-C camera, I would still recommend this. Obviously, I would recommend this for anybody that's on full frame. It is a great full frame lens, maybe not super wide. I still have a 24mm to kind of make up for that lack of super wide angle there, but still a great all-around lens for people that are on a full frame system. So I hope that kind of answers the question of, should you buy this lens? And yes, you should buy this lens. While you're thinking about buying this lens, use my affiliate link below, because that will help support the channel. So that's it for me. I'm trying to get better about posting multiple videos about lenses. So I'm going to try to maybe post a video about this lens in certain scenarios. And with that, consider subscribing to the channel so that you know when I post those videos of this lens in different scenarios, like underwater. I'm not going to do that. Thank you guys for joining. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. As I said before, if you're digging the content from the channel, consider subscribing. Go check out the video for the 7 Artisans 25mm f1.8. Comment your Instagram or Twitter handle so that you can enter to win the small rig multi-tool. That is always so much information to say. Whew. And as always, I'll see you guys here next time. Go and find your journey. Go embrace life. Peace. This is a lens, so it's a great low light. It's also got a wide range of focal lengths, but there's a plane. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a plane. I'm gonna keep on going, and I have realized it is really a great. God, go and find your journey. Go embrace life. I'm not stop pointing. So hopefully that helps out my a6000 or crop sensor camera friends out there. How does this perform on an a6000, a6300, 6400, 6500, 6600, 6100? It looks amazing.